So I am here. I am Krystine, the Beauty Pro coach, and I am here with the fabulous Corey Gray, the host of the Hairdustry podcast. How are you, Corey?
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me on and for making time for me.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're here. We connected at more in person in Orlando premiere show, and I was able to coax you into the coming on. So
You didn't
I'm very
coach me.
happy.
It was just about scheduling it. Listen, you know what the cool thing about the hair shows is exactly that. Like, we've probably been talking like maybe a year or so
Yeah.
online about getting this scheduled, and it's
Yeah.
just hard with everyone's schedule. But then, like when you go to the big hair events, it's really cool to you meet friends that are now like, oh, like I actually get to see you. Like
Yeah.
in real life is a real thing at hair shows. Even when we've talked, I don't know, for
Mhm.
a while online. So it's like, oh, you're actually a person, not just a little like thing up in the up in the,
Right.
right. It's so crazy.
It was really cool because at that particular moment where we met, like everybody was there. You were there, Lala was there, some other people were there. Agnes, she also came on the show not so long ago. And looking back on it, it was like such a cool like connection. It just felt so good. So anyway, I'm happy to continue the vibes
I mean,
today.
we could do an hour on just hair shows because I'm such a big proponent of them. I think
Yeah.
that I think what it does is it just like fires you up again.
Yes.
I think like being in that energy and being with the best in the industry that do it, and then actually
Mhm.
getting to like meet people and slap fives, and for us
Yeah.
it's like seeing a bunch of people that like we haven't seen in a long time, meeting
Mhm.
new people, not again in real
Yeah.
life that you've had conversations with, or
Yeah.
just like being introduced to people. Like I don't think there's a better way to kind of build your network than to be like at the hair shows and getting to chat with pretty much anybody that you want. And the other thing that I've noticed about hair shows is that everybody seems pretty open to just kind of be. There's definitely
Yeah.
egos in the room, but all in all, you can break through that, or you can cut through that, and have the conversations with people either you want to or need to or whatever. It's pretty cool. I like them a lot.
I do too. I do too. And growing up in the industry, I've always been to the hair show. So when I hear or speak to beauty or barber pros that are like, "No, I don't go to the shows." I'm always like, "What do you mean? Like this is like the lifeblood right here. This is where we go. Like what do you mean you're not going?" So I totally can understand where you're coming from with that.
At the same time, as you take it a little bit deeper, like
Mhm.
whenever you do like an event, especially a
Yeah.
big event like that, you're going to find exactly what you're looking for. So if you're looking for grossness, there's a lot of grossness there. If you're looking for amateur night, there's a lot of amateur night there, at any of the hair shows. But if you're looking for people that are engaged and willing to better their careers, you'll find those people too. Or if you're just there for a good time, that's there too, you
I
know.
love it that you said that. That is so true. You find what you're looking for. You get in what you put into it. So,
Definitely.
yeah,
You get out
thank
what
you
you
for
put in,
that.
right? Isn't that a thought?
Yes. Yeah, thank you for fixing it for me.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Something
Yeah,
like that.
but such is life, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that certainly in my experience, and I think this is a universal experience, is like at times in life we find we go through these, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes, we can be judgmental in the back room, but that doesn't dictate who I am. It's
Mhm.
where I'm at, you know.
Yeah.
Or you could be like fantastic, which I try to I have another mantra that I'm always trying to live to my best self and not to my
Yeah.
mediocre or to my worst self. And sometimes
Ah.
that's just wordplay and it's word
Mhm.
lies. But
Mm.
as an example, like if somebody's like, hey, how you doing, or how's your day, and people go like, oh, it's not bad. Like I don't even know what not bad means. Like if you even like break it down, like I don't, what does not bad mean, or
Yeah.
whatever. I always come in with like I'm amazing or I'm fantastic or something, because that's the level in which I want to live. It's not always true, and I don't think it's a lie, but what it is it's a reminder to myself that like I want to live at this plateau, or not plateau, but I want to live at this level.
Mhm.
So it's something that sometimes my friends make fun of me and stuff. Like we know you're fantastic, you're awesome, but again, like it's so easy to play down, but it's so
Mhm.
difficult to play up. In my
Yeah.
life journey, like I want to play up. I don't want to play down.
I love that. And you know what? I had somebody tell me actually this morning. They're like, "I just love it that just your voice, you just always sound so enthusiastic about the simplest things." And I didn't know what to say to that. I was like, "Well, yeah, I mean, in my head, I'm like, I'm excited. Today's another day. We
Mhm.
get to start fresh. We get to do all the things. Like, let's go." Like, and they told me, and I was like, I already did like a full day's work, and I'm like ready to go. And it wasn't even like 9 o'clock yet.
Ready to work overtime. Isn't it
Yeah.
amazing though? Like again, with the human experience, like it's so hard to take compliments. What's that all about?
I
Like
don't
I don't know what to do with
know.
the energy.
I don't know. And as beauty professionals, like we should be so, at least for me, I hate to do the shoulds, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but we inspire people.
Mhm.
So like let's be our own inspiration too. Like let's live what we're kind of preaching every day. And so at least that's that for me. I think that's why I became a coach too. Like, no, you gotta love what you do. You gotta love it. Ooze it out of you. So I don't know why we downplay everything. Like, I don't get that.
Yeah, it's just again just a weird kind of like I'm at the stage in my life where I'm kind of seeing life as an outsider,
Mhm.
kind of like observing like behavior and stuff, and I'm like, why do we do that? Like, why do we like? And by the way, everything I'm talking about, I'm guilty of.
Oh,
There's
for sure. Yeah, I got it.
I'm not pointing fingers at anybody but
Same.
myself, and like what's my journey and what's my
Hmm.
path, and like how am I traveling through this, but with compliments it's still tough. It takes me, like I definitely give like a fake answer because I don't know what to do with the energy, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
thank you, and it's not that it's not a thank you. Let me be clear, that's not it, but it's like I have to process like, oh, that's uncomfortable, and I don't know what that is. I did hear a great thing though, and I have used this in my practice, is that I'm a veteran, right? So a lot of times, thank you for your service and stuff. So like again, for years and years and years and years, I didn't know what to do with that energy, right? Like thank you.
Mm.
I don't even what's the response to that, And then I heard it was actually a female veteran. Not that that's important, but it was a female veteran that she said her response is, and I love this, and I can't wait to use it. Is it was worth it? I
Oh.
go, that's such a great answer.
Oh my goodness. I love that.
And I'm actually thinking like it's not just I just won't use it as my veteran status, but like even if someone's like, whatever, I think it's a perfect answer. Like it was worth it. It was worth it is like is this such a great canned answer for not disingenuous, let me be clear.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just such a great canned answer to be like, yeah, it was worth doing, or it was worth whatever. Whatever it is.
Wow.
It's like a hairdresser to hairdresser.
Okay, okay. So rewind.
Yeah.
And for the listeners or watchers who don't know, Corey, you just said you were a veteran.
Yeah.
So that blew my mind right off.
Yeah,
Did
I don't
not
know why that blew your mind, but
at all. I did
anybody can
not
be a
see
veteran.
that coming.
Yeah.
So go ahead and just tell everybody a little bit about your story because you are one of the hosts of Hairdustry, the podcast.
Yep, Your Day
You
Off, the Hairdustry Your Day Off podcast, brought to you
you
every Monday.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you still work behind the chair.
Yep.
You are in Maryland.
Maryland. Yep. We're in Maryland.
Yep. Okay, so go ahead. How did you become the guy you are today? Like what?
Well, I mean, there's a lot there, right? So,
Right.
just a little 3-second pitch. I've been behind the chair for about 30 years. I started hairdressing in the early 90s. But when I got out of high school in the 80s, I joined the military, and I was in the military for a 4-year stint. Got out literally the next day after I got out of the military, I started hair school at the Great Graham Webb
Oh my
International
goodness.
in Arlington, Virginia. So yeah, I started there. We did that, and then you know,
What branch were you in?
I was in the Navy. I was in the Navy.
Navy.
Yeah, I
Okay,
was a
cool.
medic in the Navy.
Oh my
Yeah, did
goodness.
4 years there, and then boom, got out. It's actually funny. Like it's just so weird. Again, kind of like thinking now how I thought as a 20. Now to make the story kind of complete and full, while I
Mhm.
was in the military, my mom died. She was 45 years old and I was 21. Like I went in the military with every thought that I'd be a lifer, that I would be like 20 years in. But
Mhm.
Like so many times when you're young, you blame your circumstance on life, or you blame your circumstance on the world around you. It takes
Mhm.
a lot of years to kind of go like, oh no, this is the work that I need to do. I can't expect the world to do this work for me. That makes
Mm.
sense.
Mhm.
So when I left the military, it was with a lot of resentment towards the military, but it wasn't real resentment. It was resentment towards myself. It was resentment towards my mom for dying. That's where all the resentment was. But I blame the military a lot for that. So when I had the opportunity to get out, I got out, and I started hair school, and I took a lot of that like energy into hair school.
Yeah.
It's funny, and I'm probably gonna get off my story a little bit, but just talk about like just again how life seems to work is it's very funny, like when there's walkouts at hair salons and stuff, like
Yeah.
when or when even not even a walkout, but even when one person leaves, there's always this energy to grab people to go with you. And again, I'm not blaming people, but it's again within the human experience, it's like validate that I'm doing the right thing by coming with me.
Mhm.
Right? Like that's what it is. It's not necessarily that you want me to come with you. It's not necessarily that you want to bring someone along, but it's more of like a validation for myself. And again, no judgment on that. It's just interesting to kind of look at it through that lens as opposed to
Yeah.
somebody's taking my business or somebody is, asking me to go or whatever that is. But there's so much like even like and like even when like there's a separate when there's a you ever have like best friends like break up, a couple,
Yeah.
immediately it was like, I'll use women as the example, but they'll talk about the guy and how much they love them and like they were like Mr. Perfect, and then as soon as they break up, it's like followed with asshole, shithead, like all this
Yeah.
stuff. And the truth is that it's okay to end a relationship because it's run its course, right? Like I
Right.
wish we could all be mature enough to be like, okay, well, this ran its course, it's over, as
Mhm.
opposed to having to blow stuff up, and by the
Mm.
way, we do it to salons all the time. We leave a salon and we go like, oh, I left this salon because they were a jerk or they were this or they were that. And you're like, then why were you there for 15 years? Why were
Mhm.
you there for 5 years? You know what I'm saying? So, and again, if there's real toxicity there, then by all means leave. But I just want to be careful. Certainly in my path, I want to be careful that when I move on, it's not blowing up what's behind me. It's appreciating that there was something behind me, and appreciating that whatever was behind me is what created who I am today, for good, for bad, or
Yeah.
for whatever. But I want to be again in my practice real careful not to start blowing stuff up just because we've moved on. Like that doesn't
I love that.
logically it doesn't make sense.
No, I love that, and I really appreciate that because, like, that's such a theme in the last couple years, everybody's toxic, every salon is toxic, let's walk out, COVID is changing the world, so let's make sure we really blow it up, that is so, like, nurturing, what you just said, and I appreciate you saying that, um, because I feel like you've had so many, I don't know, several like transformations in your life. Like you were a Navy guy, now you're a stylist, now you're a podcast host. Like you're just doing your thing. And it's like you're giving yourself permission to just try all the things and explore all these different areas of yourself. So like what can you say is like the biggest flex of being like a servant leader?
Um, I mean, I think the best way to kind of explain it again is just through my experience,
Yeah.
and I think the best way to be a servant leader is to be servant to yourself.
Mm.
Like there's this mantra that I use all the time as well, and that's like, I don't know if it's a mantra actually, maybe it's I don't know. Fuck it, we'll just talk it through. Is that there's a time to be selfish if
Yeah.
that selfish is to be selfless. So
Mm.
if you've done the work, to do the work can feel selfish. And again, I think that that's a
Mm.
human experience game.
Yeah.
But it's impossible from my perspective, to be selfless if you haven't been selfish and you've worked on yourself. And you've
Mm.
worked hard on yourself and you kind of understand things, and how your life has affected your life, if that makes any kind of sense.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Little example of that is that I got sober at 29. So I got in 1999 I got sober, and I with that became clarity. It's like I had to fight and battle through um who am I? Where am I in life?
Mm.
Because all through my 20s, I was the party guy. I was the fun guy. I was the guy, And then when I was about 34, ironically, because of Tony, but when I was 34, I couldn't figure out why Tony, who doesn't say two words, is very, very quiet, very, very stoic. But the second he walks in a room, he gets respect. And I would come in with the party, or I'd come in with the whatever, but I never seemed to get that same respect. So I started
Oh.
like looking at this in myself, and I go, I want a little more of that. I don't necessarily have to be that completely, Like
Mhm.
I'm not really one to. If anyone listens to the podcast, I'm not the one that's quiet. However, how can I get a little bit of that energy? And what I realized, and this was like this is how a shower changed my life. That'll be the name of my autobiography, How a Shower Changed My Life.
I love it. The shower, man, that's where all the good ideas come. So go for it.
So, so again, when I was kind of like what is this? And I was getting in the shower, and what came to me in the shower was, again, my mom died when I was 21,
Mhm.
but she had had cancer my entire childhood and my entire life.
Mm.
So and also she worked for the National Education Association, and she was the head of members benefits. So all that means, and what that means to anybody that's listening, is that I never had an adult in my life that didn't know my mom's plight,
Mm.
right? So I never had an adult in my life that on some level didn't feel sorry for me. And how that kind of manifested itself was that for many, many, many years, I saw love as feeling sorry for me.
Mm.
And this is kind of and what would happen is whenever I got close to somebody, I would start to make them feel sorry for me. I would play the victim card so people felt sorry for me because this is how I saw and felt love.
Right.
In that shower, all that came like it hit me like the water, like the hot water hitting me in the face. It also came with wisdom, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I get that. Nobody respects the person they feel sorry for. They only feel
Mm.
sorry for 'em. It's different,
Mhm.
you know. It's nobody leads from victimhood.
Mhm.
Get that? So
Yeah.
this is kind of what, literally I left the shower, and what's weird is like at that moment, like feeling sorry for me was over. And what happened was I'd get angry. I still get angry. But today,
Sure.
now I think like when I start to, there's something going on psychologically. The second I start to feel like I'm making people feel sorry for me, or I'm manipulating people to
Mm.
feel sorry for me. So then I kind of get angry with myself a little bit. And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I always know that I'm on a bad track at that point, like something like isn't going. And that's another one of my philosophies. I don't believe in building walls. I believe in building guardrails because I
Mhm.
feel like if you're already scaling the wall, you're already committed to failing. Right. So
Mhm.
I build these guardrails, and this is a good example of them. Is that the second that I go, oh, Christine's feeling sorry for me, I've got to back off, right? As opposed to like going all the way through, like you feeling sorry for me. This is weird, I know, but
No, this is so good. I don't think we've ever talked about this on the show. So like I'm eating it up. Like go for it. Just take us all to church. It's
let's go.
totally fine.
We'll go to
Go.
church. We'll go to church. And again, I got to keep emphasizing that this is just my journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
Absolutely.
if somebody can get something out of it, awesome. But this is my journey. So
Mhm.
again, back to guardrails.
Yeah.
Guardrails to me are thoughts. Like what thought is putting me is putting me against the guardrail. And because I can control thoughts if I can identify thoughts. Once I'm on the wall, who knows if I scale it, or who knows how far up the wall I am before I
Mhm.
scale it, right?
Mhm.
So another example of that, going back to me quitting drinking, is that there was a time where like we would go out after work and I'd hang out in the bar, and I was, fine for days.
Mhm.
But then what happened is like I know people would be drinking like, these fruity drinks or whatever, and I'd be like, I wonder what that smells like. And then the next night I'd go like, I wonder if that what that tastes like. And the next night I would go like I wonder if I could just do a sip.
Mhm.
So, and then I realized, and then when I go, oh, I can't do that. Once I realized that, then I could back up 3 days and I could go, well, this didn't start with wanting a sip. This started with wondering what it smelled like. But even before that, this smelled like I shouldn't have been in a situation like that anyways. And I shouldn't have normalized me in that situation. And I think that's what happened. Like I was normalizing, like, oh, I can be normalized in this bar, but really I can't do that. That's not who
Mhm.
I am. I'm
Mhm.
not, I'm not capable of doing that for too long. Like we could go out, we could hang out. Actually,
Mhm.
I think we met in a bar. We can
Yeah.
hang out in a
Yeah,
bar,
we did.
but but I can't make a habit of that because all the other
Right.
habits then start to spin, you know?
Yes. Yeah. That's awesome self-awareness. And I think that happens with practice. Like you're not going to just, okay, today I'm going to be self-aware and like you're going to catch on to that. You got to be paying attention to yourself.
Well, here's the deal is that a philosophy that I try to live by is it's always my fault. Doesn't
Mm,
mean it's always my fault, but I have to explore everything through my fault because there's no healing otherwise.
mm,
Otherwise, it's always somebody else's fault, right?
yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
it's like their fault or somebody else's fault. If you're not exploring it through like everything is my fault, And again,
Hmm.
you don't have to land there necessarily because
Hmm.
there's definitely times where you also need to give yourself grace, but at least exploring it through that, and you have to explore it without the ego. You have to explore it without like
Hmm.
being connected to it. What if I'm looking at my life from an outsider's view? And
Mm,
try to explore it from that. And again, with the thought that everything is my fault. So let's explore that.
yeah.
And then what could have I done better, even if it's micro, you know,
Yeah,
what could have I done better? So,
totally.
yeah.
All right. So then what do you feel is your biggest failure in any area of your life? And like, what did you learn from it?
Hmm. Biggest failure. I don't, yeah, not sure if I have an answer for that, to be honest.
Okay. That's
I
fine.
think that because again, kind of like going back, like I try to observe as much as I can as it's my
Mm,
fault. There's kind of this like, where did I fail in this situation?
mm,
And now like now I like to think that my fails are so micro now because I've done the big work before.
yeah. Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, I could have done better. I could have done better.
Right.
Should have done better here, or like my thought process was off here. My thought process kind of brought me, you know, to there. A kind
Mhm.
of, I think I'm crowbarring this in, but I'll say it anyways. Is that I live by a philosophy of gifting, of not.
Okay.
There's two ways to approach life. It's like you can either gift or you can invest, right? So like
Mm.
that's it. You're either giving or you're expecting a return,
So
right?
givers and takers.
You ever not no, but it's the take of yourself, right? Here,
Okay.
let me explain it. Let me explain like how I kind of use it. But so
Okay.
if you go to the store and I open a door for somebody and they don't say thank you, the old me would be like, dog, you didn't say thank you, man. What's up? And then I had to rethink that and I go, you know what? I didn't open the door for the thank you. If I opened the door for the thank you, it was never a gift. It was an
Mm.
investment.
Mm.
That's
Okay. I get it.
traffic, right?
Yeah.
So like, are you giving this because you're just trying to be a better person in society? Because you're just trying to stand up for society? Because you're trying to be whatever that is? But there can't be an expectation of a return, even a
Mhm.
thank you. Now, do I process through that? Yes. I still
Yeah.
go, dog, you should have said thank you. But then I can then step aside and go like, I didn't do it for that. It
Right.
gave
Right.
me a mantra to say like, I didn't do it for that. And what that does is it immediately kills that energy because I
Hmm.
don't want the other thing, once again back to guardrails, is I don't want that quarter of a second that they didn't say thank you to have an impact even for a minute after that.
Hmm.
Right? And I can kill that thought process immediately and go like, no, that was it. I didn't do it for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, I think
I
I'm
like that. Okay. So maybe, okay. So this is kind of a similar question, but it's probably one of my favorite
another similar
questions.
question that I won't answer, but carry on.
But it's okay. Okay.
We're all set.
So, what insult have you ever gotten in your life that you are currently so proud of?
What insult?
Insult, yeah.
One insult that I've gotten up that I'm proud of?
Yes.
I don't even know what this question is.
No, it is such a good
Give me an
question.
example.
I love
Give me
this
an example.
question.
Yeah, give me an example. I don't I
Okay,
don't
so like it
understand
could
it.
be even like from a client, like, wow, Corey, you're just, I don't know, you're just too good. And I just can't believe that you think that you're great or whatever. And then you could be like, yeah, actually, I am great because I put in all the work, like something like that.
Yeah. I don't know about an insult. Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Everybody loves this question, and you just totally blew me away. Okay, fine. Fine, fine, fine.
I don't really.
So,
Honestly, it's not that I'm even avoiding it. I'm not really sure I know what it means.
okay, have you ever
But
gotten
I'm
an
a ball.
insult?
I'm sure I get insulted in people's heads all the time.
All right. Well, maybe we'll come back to
We'll
it. I
come
don't
back.
know.
But yeah, let me process that a little bit.
Process that one a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did Hairdustry come to be?
Um, oh, I've got an answer for this one. So
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think I'm insulted now, actually, now that I think about it. You've insulted me. I'm okay. No, assaulted me. So honestly, I was just an early, I kind of grew up on Stern, and I grew up on like
Yeah.
some local, like, shock jockers and stuff like that. And like, I was always intrigued by the medium. One
Mm.
reason that I'm intrigued by the medium is that it's incredibly intimate.
Mm.
Like Howard Stern doesn't know me, but I'm his best friend.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
get, like
Mm.
everything about them, even if they don't know you. So it was kind of intriguing to me that it's this very, very intimate medium, that you get
Yeah.
to spend every single day, or for us once a week, with somebody, and you kind of get to know them a little bit, or you certainly get to know what they're putting out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So on that, I was an early adopter to podcasts. I think I started in like 2008, 2009. Like it was like I
Like
was like,
that's when like first started like coming out, right?
oh, exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
super like super early adopter to it. And for years, I mean, all the way till 2017, I was like, I want to do a podcast about the hair industry. But up to that point, the only conversations we were having were angles and color tones and
Mm.
tertiaries and all that. And I was like, wow, I don't know. I can't figure out how to like make a podcast about that. And then and then B, I can't figure out how to do a podcast to make that interesting more than once. Like
Mm.
we can talk about haircut angles, and that would be awesome once. You can't keep
Right.
having that conversation. So, what's the sustained conversation that we could do 500. I mean, we're now up to like 550 episodes. Like,
What?
uh,
That's
small,
awesome.
um,
That's awesome.
small promotion. Shameless,
Shameless plug.
shameless plug, right? So I couldn't figure out that conversation, and then to name drop for just a second, the all and powerful great Philip Wolf, when he first got into the hair industry, he was an assistant in our salon.
No way. I did not know that.
So we've known Philip since he was a wolf cub. He was
That
like
is
5
so
years
cute.
old.
I love it.
So, long story short, in 2004, Philip moves to LA, and then slowly becomes the Philip Wolf that we all love today.
Hmm.
So back in 2017, I hadn't seen him literally since he left. So whatever that is, 14 years or so. He
Okay.
calls me up and he's like, "Hey, bro, I'm going to be in town on Monday. I'd love to see you." So, I went to go see him. He was doing a hair event at what was Be Seen at the time, and
Hmm.
there was a bunch of like influencers that were in town. Be Seen Salon is right up the street from ours, just
Okay.
or was just up the street from ours. We're in Maryland, just north of DC.
Yeah.
So it's like go there, and Philip's there all day. And what had happened was there was a lot of hairdressers there, and all day long they're handing me their phone to take pictures with Philip. Like I was like Phil's like professional photographer for the day. However, when I left there, I go, that's it. I know what I want to do. I go like I want to be kind of the conduit between like hairdressers that work behind the chair, and at that point, like different influencers. And this is 2017, so it's kind of the height of like the
Yeah.
influencer kind of thing.
Cool.
So I go to
Uh-huh.
Tony, my partner Tony, and I say, "Hey man, I've got this idea. I want to be like the Jimmy Fallon of the hair industry." And Tony said, "If we do this, we've got to bring heart to the conversation." And he was absolutely right. So literally before we started the podcast, we changed the podcast. Like you're right, we have to like have the conversations that aren't being had. And
Mm.
like and like I don't think that we innovated anything, but I think the industry, we just hit the timing perfect. Like the
Mhm.
industry was ready to have tough conversations, because
Mm.
prior to 2018, I don't ever, and I'm being honest, I mean, I've been in the industry for 30 years. I don't ever remember any public conversations about mental health,
Mm-mm.
about sobriety, about like I've never like worked in a salon where drugs or alcohol wasn't a concern for
Mhm.
someone, but we've
Mhm.
never had that conversation. So honestly, one of the proudest podcasts that we did was within our first year. We did a month of sober October, and one of our first ones was to talk to the all and powerful Michael Cole, and it was the first time he
Oh.
had ever gone public with his sober story. And we yelled at each other on the podcast, we cried together on the podcast. It was like super. It just I'm just one of those ones that I'm super proud of. Uh,
Yeah.
and beyond whatever that Michael agreed to do it and agreed to come public with it, because it's definitely something that he struggled with for a very long time, you know. And now he's such an activist and supporter of those that are working the steps and working the program. So
What do you think it is about our industry that drug and alcohol use is, and even abusive relationships? What do you think it is that it's so prevalent?
well, I think it's prevalent in society as a whole. However,
Mhm.
I think we're affected by it a lot because most of the hairdressers that I know were misfits in life at some point. You know,
Mhm.
I think that it was like most of us, and by most I mean 51%, in case anyone
Mhm.
whatever, but you know, most of us didn't go to college, or most of us didn't finish college. Most of us didn't do the traditional path, and I think a lot of us found the industry through searching, or through a
Mhm.
calling, as you know. Certainly, we've heard
Yeah.
it many times on our podcast. So I don't. I think that we're just people that were searching, you know, for where to fit. So I think with that comes a lot of experimentation. It comes a lot of like pushing the boundary. It comes a lot of soul searching. Um,
Mhm.
I think that certainly, you know, I'm not a blue shirt khaki kind of guy, but like I think like our industry isn't really filled with that, you know, filled with like a
Right.
determined like this is what the path looks like. You know, by the way, I'm not.
Right.
They're all on their own path, but it's not what our path looked like.
Right.
I just think that we were you know, our industry is filled with a lot of misfits who have been searching, and I think with that comes, you know, other things.
Do you think because the industry
And by the way, we're a cash industry. You know, certainly when it comes
mm,
to drugs, you know, we always have a pocket full of cash, and we all
oh.
within a phone call or so where to spend that cash.
Ooh, that's a good point. Did not see, yeah, yeah, that's so true. Okay, okay, so the industry is changing and I feel like it's trying to become more structured in a way like how you're saying like a blue shirt and khaki pants. Like it's not going like in that direction, but it is becoming more like structured in a way.
Mhm.
Do you think like it'll ever fully be like that?
No, for the same reason though, right? Because you still have we still have people, not fully. You know, there
Mhm.
will always be. You know, I actually worked in a couple salons that were that way. You know, that were very
Mm.
structured, that were very like I worked in a salon that was a summit based salon, which is perfect and beautiful, and it is what it
Mhm.
is. But we're always going to have those same innovators, you know, in the industry that aren't going to necessarily see that this is the only way to kind of find success. You know, I think that we live in an industry where people are going to like always push the boundaries,
Yeah.
sense, and push what's right, what's right for them. You know, and maybe
Right.
the structure isn't, you know, necessarily that structure isn't necessarily for everyone. You know,
What's an
go ahead.
important like straight or a strength or trait for anyone in our industry to have to be successful?
Whether you know, once again, what's glorious about our industry is that there's a million different ways to be successful, and there's a million different people that are successful in their own way.
Mhm.
I think that I think as far as leadership goes, that we need to approach leadership through a humble, understanding way, and not necessarily a militant way. I don't think
Mhm.
that flies too much, and I also think it's kind of old school kind of thinking. You know,
Yeah.
I think that now, speaking to the industry as a whole, and I hope I don't get you in trouble for this. I think that we need to, as an industry as a whole, again, is we have to take leadership be more responsible for it. I think with our
Mhm.
industry and why there's so many failures or so many opportunities missed in the industry are from salon owners that just think that that's the path. You know, I get
Yeah.
out of school, I'd be a hairdresser for a couple of years, and now I'm a salon owner, and this is the path without necessarily um, having the leadership skills in which one must have, and again, being a humble leader, being an understanding leader, I
Mhm.
think is kind of the best way to do that. I just don't think
Mhm.
that we're investing in our leadership skills as much as we probably should. If you're going to be the leader of people, you know, I think that
Yeah.
it's important. And none of us have leadership skills naturally. It's definitely like a worked thing. It's not, I don't want to say none of us, but
Yeah.
99.9% of us don't have it naturally. So I think if you're going to lead people, then you must invest in leading people.
So my experience has been that just saying the word, leader or leadership or whatever, it like rattles people and they like run from it. They're like, no, I don't want that. But then you don't want it, but you're saying that you do. Your actions are saying that you do. So what is it about the word leader or leadership that just puts everybody on tilt? I don't understand.
I know why, because you're
Why?
asking to do the work.
Ah, okay.
I mean, when you say leadership or you want to be a leader, then now you're saying, I mean, kind of what I said, kind of what I called the industry out on is that we have a lack of leaders, and not on the top of the industry. We have a lack of leaders in our salon. This
Mm,
is not a shot at any salon. It's just an observation of all salons.
right.
There's some salons out there that have unbelievably good leadership.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what it is. Because it's also like, it's almost like the money talk. You're
Yeah.
talking about something that you have to put work in, but also that's an uncomfortable situation because there's a lot of like soul searching with that. What is a leader? What's a good leader? And it's like, I think that this works again. I think I'm crowbarring it in, but you know, change is never, ever, ever, ever about what's next.
Mm,
Change is always about giving up a belief system.
mm. I like that.
What's next is sexy. When you buy a new car, that's fun, and that's cool. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so like if you look at your career the same way, or anything really in and out of relationships, it's never ever about the next person, but it's always about giving up a belief system. So within leadership in particular, um, uh, we have a belief system of what leadership should look like, or what leadership is success, or honestly, not even what it looks like, but what have you experienced, for good, for bad, or for
Mm.
different. We tend to always lead from what we've learned, for good, for bad, or whatever.
Okay. Okay. What is okay? So for me,
Yeah.
being in the industry, you learn a lot about people, right? I've had family members come to work in the salon and you're like, oh my gosh, why are you like this? Like you didn't know that about them beforehand. Okay. So you learn quite a bit. So my question to you is, what is a lesson that you have learned working in the professional hair industry that you wish everyone from like the postman to your commander to whatever it is that you want them to learn this lesson that you have learned?
um I think it's important to realize that everybody's life, whatever aspect you're seeing in somebody's life, is only a part of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, they could be like for instance, I had a client who I thought was just the most amazing, sweet, kind, thoughtful person ever, and then I did one of her colleagues, and they're like, "Nah, she's like this ruthless bitch at work."
Oh no.
I didn't see it at all. You know what I mean? And but I also had to go, like, again, with no judgment, but just like,
Right.
oh, she can be that too.
Yeah.
She can be this killer, and it was the person who
Right.
wasn't complaining about how ruthless. She's like, no, no, you don't understand. She's a killer, and like she comes in, she's kind of meek, she's kind of quiet, she's just like, fun loving,
Yeah.
almost like mousy in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then like she's like, nah, you don't understand.
Oh.
She gets shit done. So it was interesting, and like that kind of forced me to kind of look at like, oh, everybody has these different person. You ever listen to like your spouse on the phone, and you know exactly who they're talking to by the way they're
Yes.
speaking?
I mean, I don't have a spouse yet, but yes, I know what you're saying.
Right. Like if you have a person in your life and you hear them, you go,
You're like,
oh, that's her mom voice. That's like her
yes.
talking to her mom voice, right? Or
Yes.
it's her talking to her best friend voice or whatever.
Yeah.
So like to use that as the example, understand that everybody kind of has that, and that you're just getting this version of them, you know,
Yeah.
or the best version,
Yeah.
you know. Which, by the
Ooh.
way, to talk about best version, we had a woman on the podcast early on. It might have been like our fourth podcast or something. Her name is Teresa Scanlon, and I find her so fascinating because she was the youngest Miss America in Miss American history, right? So
What?
Teresa was awesome, and she's a wonderful, wonderful woman. But she, imagine this for a sec. She was homeschooled, so she lived in her house until she was 17, right? And then from 17 to 19, she was never in her house. Like she was on the road traveling the world because those were her
Whoa.
days as Miss America, right? And
Right.
it was just so I just couldn't imagine like this doing that. I just I like I have anxiety like thinking about her like on the road because she would even say like I didn't have any world skills. I didn't have any life skills. I mean, I was homeschooled, like my
Right.
best friends were my siblings, you know. So
Oh.
so through this talk, she said, and we kind of asked her, what are, not that she had regrets about winning Miss America, but what were the toughest things? And she said was realizing that my family got the worst side of me. And that was my
Oh.
too, because but how often is that the truth though? How often
Yeah.
do we take our work home and like now, like we have permission to not attack, but we have permission to dump. I think that's best. We have permission to
Mm-hmm.
dump on our spouses and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
part of my practice is I try not to do that. I try not to bring all my stuff to my wife, and or my family for that matter. I try really hard to do that. Now that doesn't mean like I'm definitely more the type to go quiet anyways. So like people are concerned when I'm quiet. When I'm
Like,
quiet,
what's wrong with
what's
Corey?
wrong with you? You're not talking, but sometimes that's good for me too. I just gotta process that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think I
Oh.
sidestepped a question again. Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. This is fine. This is good. Okay. What what's something that no one agrees with you about?
Oh, we're definitely gonna get canceled.
I'm ready. Let's go.
I'm just kidding. Let me hold on. What does nobody agree with me about? Huh? I don't know. This is kind of an ego question, really, right? What ego say? Um, Kind of bummed out. I don't have a canned answer for this either.
I
Uh,
am just stumping you today. Whoa.
Yeah, I guess I'm like on my own soapbox, so like it's hard for me to step on somebody else's or step down off of my own soapbox a little bit.
Yeah, that must be so, yeah, because you're always asking the questions.
Oh, yeah, I told you before we got started. Like being a guest is like so nerve wracking to me, and I have no idea why. Um, I don't know. Pass. I don't know.
Okay.
Come back to it. I don't know.
All right. Okay.
Wouldn't
So,
really value at all.
how do you you're still working behind the chair,
Yeah. What
right?
is?
So, how do your clients know that you have this podcast and do
Oh,
they listen to you?
some of them do. Some of them listen all the time, which actually is kind of a fun like story because they listen to the podcast and now they kind of know us at that. Remember, different people. They kind
Yeah.
of know those people. Not that we're
That's
that
so
much different in the salon, but like they want to have conversations about. Oh my God, Krystine came on and she was so smart. Yeah, it's actually very, 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 very cool. Can I totally shameless plug for a sec?
Oh, yes, of course. Of
So
course.
day after we met, we dropped our podcast that we did with Patty Cutts, who happens to be Travis Kelsey's barber. And if you didn't see it, we talked about the
Oh my
wedding.
gosh.
And dude, it went crazy. Like Entertainment Tonight covered it, and Access Hollywood covered it. People Magazine covered it. Like our podcast was like covered everywhere, which was really cool. But what
Oh
was
my God, I'm so proud of you. Like, this is so cool.
it was, dude, it was, I'll send you the videos. It's
Yes.
very, very, very cool. But what was really cool about that is that our clients absolutely positively loved it. They're like, this is so mind blowing, man. That because they remember they've been with us since even before the podcast started. So
Yeah.
watch this happen, and then to watch us like get national like attention for it.
That's so cool. So do you feel like this podcast has helped you even get like new clients?
We've gotten a couple new clients from it. Not gonna lie, but it's mainly because like somebody again, we're in like Maryland, so when people are like, if we have any listeners that have had that have clients that are coming to our area, and we're a very transient area too, so
Mm-hmm.
there's always people coming in and out. So we've gotten a couple of people like, oh, can you do? I think like, I mean, I think we've gotten like 3 or 4 clients.
Whatever. It's
Yeah.
totally
No,
cool.
it's not even a way. Yeah, no, it's totally dope, totally cool, totally appreciate it. You know, yeah, yeah, it's cool, but it didn't. We didn't build a book from it. Is what I'm
Right,
saying.
right, right.
No,
Okay.
we did that. No, it's been, yeah, it's been really cool.
Okay. So this might be like a silly question, but I just
Probably have an answer for a silly one. It's a serious one. I can't seem to think of an answer.
so do you okay. So then you're a podcast host and now you're like covered nationally, which is so cool. How do you get
24
clients?
hours. Let's be clear. It was a 24-hour run.
I know, but that's so, but it's still, it's like, yeah,
You
like
know
it's
what?
cool.
I have some takeaways from it if you want to talk about it.
Go do it.
Run. Okay. So, so whenever they always tell you not to read the comments, right? Like if
Okay,
you're ever,
but whatever. I love the comments.
hey, so well, you love them until you don't love them. Let me be
Oh,
clear.
okay. Okay, okay. Good point.
Right?
Good point.
So anyways, I was reading the comment, but it was very cool to me. Two things happened is that one, like at the beginning of the day when this thing like blew up and kept blowing up, and lots of people reaching out like, oh my God, I just saw you on so and so. So that was very cool, in an ego kind of way. But also like I was very aware that like, yeah, this is 24 hours. Like I know like this doesn't make me, this doesn't break me, this isn't anything but this blip.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to keep that perspective, all day. That doesn't mean that it wasn't exciting. That doesn't mean that it wasn't very, very cool, because it was. And it wasn't mean that it doesn't mean that it's not appreciated, but it's not defining myself from it.
Right.
Because you have to, if you define yourself from the highs, you must also define yourself from the lows.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like,
Mm-hmm.
and either way is very, very dangerous. Define
Oh, okay.
they're high or I'm so great is terrible, and
Right.
there's only a letdown, and I'm so bad is suicidal. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
I never try to put energy either way. Again,
Sure.
it wasn't exciting. It was all of that stuff. But it's exciting, but my excitement doesn't define me. It only defines a moment,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyways, that was a big like, oh, I did it. Like I did
Yeah.
get overly like, whatever about it. It doesn't make me a better podcaster because our podcast is no better than yours because we were in entertainment tonight. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Right, right.
just
No,
it
yeah.
is, it is, and there's no other energy into it, right?
Right.
The other thing was going through the comments, even the negative comments. I realized a couple of things. One, I wasn't even connected to them. Like it was
That's
like,
cool.
yeah, because what I learned about reading all comments, I'm sure in a week this will go away. But what I learned was like all those comments that were negative lack complete perspective. They were
Hmm.
just the perspective of the moment that they're showing or that they're
Yeah.
you know. So I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't talk about how ugly my beard was or anything like that. So I didn't take it super personal, but yeah, all of them were lacking perspective. Like there was one like somebody commented on like these guys trap Patty into this answer, and I'm like, hey, I'm super complimented that you think that we're so programmed out that we know how to trap somebody. I mean, at the end of the day, we're a couple hairdressers, and we're just talking to a couple friends, on the podcast. Or at least that's kind of how we always feel about it.
See, that's an insult. That
That's,
could be, that's the
okay,
answer to
okay,
the,
we'll go with this. We'll go with
that,
this then. We'll go with
there
this.
you go.
The answer. So like they commented that like, oh, they trap Patty. Well, here's the truth. The truth is that we talked about Taylor Swift for 2 minutes, which by the way is all it takes. You should dedicate 2 minutes to all your podcasts to Taylor Swift.
Okay, I'm
This
gonna
would be
try
like
it.
2 minutes right now.
I was talking
Um,
about Dolly Parton, so now I got to try Taylor Swift.
I'll have to get into Dolly. But this is at the like 53-minute mark. Well, up to that 53 minutes, we talked about Patty and his life. We talked about Patty, and Patty was a D1 athlete at Drexel, and then when he was 19 and a sophomore in college, his father committed suicide.
Mm,
So we had conversations about men's mental health, which might be the most under talked about situation in the world is men's
100.
mental health. And then from there, we talked about like Patty's drug addictions and drug use, and him in and out. He's in Florida now. He's in Boca Raton. Him in and out of
Hey.
him in and out of rehab and stuff. So this was my only point was where that lacked perspective was that Patty was way open about his entire life, not just this aspect. Now,
Mm-hmm.
with that perspective, before the podcast, I knew I was going to ask about Taylor Swift. But what we weren't going to make it about Taylor Swift, but we were going to ask about Taylor Swift. You get
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We didn't promote it as that. We didn't promote it as,
Mm-mm.
you know, I honestly have no idea how anyone found it because it was so deep into a podcast about addiction
Yeah.
and mental health that like how someone found that I have no idea. I still have no idea how it went. However,
Whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So I was yeah. So I guess I was insulted, but I wasn't offended because it lacked
Right.
which by
Mm-hmm.
the way could probably be like that could probably be the answer to any kind of insult. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All
it's a
right. So let me see. We got like 7 minutes left. So, what is a question that you wish I asked, and how would you have answered?
what's a question that I wished you had asked? We did a pretty good job, my friend. You did a pretty good job
Well,
there.
thank you.
I don't know. I don't necessarily. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm avoiding all your questions
I
today.
know, but you're doing it so smoothly.
Am I like the worst guest that you've had?
No, no. I because you like you'll like avoid the question, but you'll come back with some like really powerful stuff. So it kind of makes up for it.
Well, I like to think that I live in my power. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't, and even like the insult question, and as I kind of observe it from an outsider again, is like I don't like they don't control me.
I love it.
I mean, like I can't again. It lacks perspective. I don't own that energy. So like I just try to pass that energy through as quickly as I can. And I think that that's why like I can't. I'm sure it's happened 1,000 times in my life, but it's not anything that I really process. I just kind
Mhm.
of let it go. You know, like that. I mean, that's a good practice too. Is you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts
Mhm.
are different. You know, like
Mhm.
are deeper than that. You are deeper into you, and you're not your thoughts. You know,
Yeah.
and you know the hardest practice in the world. I wish you asked me about my thoughts. I wish you asked me about like my perspectives. No, um,
Okay. That's the answer.
because I think and honestly, this is the hardest practice in the world is that you're not your thoughts, and you have to give your thought. You have to give your thoughts the energy that they deserve, and that's not much. You know, they're just
Mm.
all passing. You know, like your thoughts can make
Yeah.
you feel amazing, and your thoughts can make you feel terrible. But you have to
Yeah.
go, oh, this is a thought. Just fucking move on. You know, you're not your thought.
Right.
You're not
Yeah,
your
we
thought.
get like hooked on, and we always get hooked on like the really, really negative ones.
Mhm.
And then we just like spiral out of control. And then before you know it, we're like in the hospital because we like overthought like way too much.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's really hard. I mean, I am a spinner. You know, you can ask my
Mm,
wife. I'm a spinner. You know, but you know, to be able to grab those and literally, I'm in a season now, and like 90% of like my thoughts aren't real, right?
oh,
And I keep
yeah.
play out as not real. You know, like this is not. This is just. These are just thoughts. You know, these are just
Mhm.
like, thoughts and trying to. I think I'm trying to figure something out. I think this is what we do when we start to spin or we start to have these like these negative thoughts. Like we're trying to figure something out, and I think the negative thoughts stick around because we can't find the answer. You know,
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That
I'm
makes
like
total sense.
I keep like what why am I not why am I, you're not looking but you're not consciously looking for the answer, you're just spinning, you're just
Right.
like this negativeness. And then what also happens too, which is such a weird thing, is like you start spinning on like a little thought, and then that thought like snowballs, and now like
Right.
ah, they don't like me.
Right. It's like this huge like explosion.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always like perspective of how somebody else is treating you feel about or whatever. But it's like, you know, it's a real
How do you personally like knock yourself out of that?
it's not easy. I mean, you know,
Like, do
we
you go for a run and you're like, I gotta
go
just
for a
like
run, go
check
for
out
a
of it.
drive, go for whatever, you know,
Yeah.
maybe sometimes you have to process through those things, you know,
Mm.
but you know, when you start to actually, here's a good ending. You want a good
Okay.
ending?
Yes, I want a good ending.
I've been suicidal my whole life. So I've had like suicidal ideations my entire life. And I mean like all the time, right?
Corey. Okay.
Oh, nope.
All right. All
Stop.
right.
You
I'm
send
reeling it back.
stop.
Hmm.
Go back.
Okay.
Here's what I realized is this is how I've taught my body to react to pressure. This is how I've taught my body to react to stress or stressor.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right. So it's not, I've never really been like actively suicidal,
Right.
but like, just like I want to get out of this room, I want to get
Mm.
out of this life, right? Was kind of like my response to it. Now, about a year ago, I realized that this is what this is. Wait a sec. You don't feel like this when you feel good. You only feel like this when you're feeling pressure.
Mm.
Pressure in our life, right? So here's what's amazing. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
In a year, nothing. Once I pegged it, once I go, this is what this is, it's gone. It doesn't own me anymore. It doesn't operate within me anymore.
Oh, I love that.
You know? Now that
Because you
said,
discovered it. You got to the root of it.
to the root of it, and kind of like with my mom too, it's kind of like that same, like I've been very fortunate and very lucky that I've had like maybe 10 times in my life where I was able to identify something and literally walk away from it. And I can leave it behind like it doesn't own me anymore, you
That's
know?
awesome.
And
Yeah,
that,
that's awesome.
so this is like the latest thing, right? So this like, oh, that's what it's just the pressure of it. So now what happens is I feel the pressure. These thoughts come on and I go, get out of here. You don't live here anymore. You
Mhm.
don't have permission to be here anymore because I know what you are. And what you're not is me wanting to end my life.
Mhm.
Are is pressure.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. I love that. That is self-awareness to its ultimate form. And
Well,
that's
it's been
beautiful.
for years, bro. But
Well, yeah, it's practice. It's practice. And like I'm happy that you're sharing about it because everybody, a lot of our listeners, they want to change right now. Like in 1 hour, let's have a session, a coaching session, and I want you to change my life. Well, baby, we need to take some time.
you got to do
It's
the
gonna take time and practice.
well. Once again, I mean, I think the biggest takeaway that I've had is kind of observing it through. It's my fault,
Mm-hmm.
because honestly, for me at least, there's no healing without that.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're really asking is, how can I be better? What could
Yes.
have I done in this situation to make this situation better? And sometimes you go through that exploration, you go nothing. It was
Mhm.
just, it was a bad
It
moment.
is what it is. Yeah.
It's what it is. However, what we tend to do is go there,
Mhm.
right? There's many, 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 many steps about what did I put into this. My goal in life is that if somebody in the salon needs to have a tough conversation, that they don't feel it's tough. That
Yeah.
I'm evolved and I'm mature enough to be like, let's just have the conversation.
Mhm.
Now I do get offended when you get defensive with me, but because I
Mhm.
take it personal, I go, I've never given you a reason to get defensive.
Mhm.
Never. I'm,
Mhm.
I'm, I'm, you can ask most people that I work with that like I'm a great team player. Like I'm happy to everyone. I'm helpful to everyone. Um, and I try to be evolved and mature about all my relationships. So when you come to me and then you get defensive, now granted, I also give the grace that this is how they feel pressure.
Mhm. Oh
They feel
yeah.
pressure
Oh
by being
yeah.
defensive. So I try to give that grace too. But again, it's not like I don't. I feel it. Like okay, like
Yeah.
I have to kind of process through. Sometimes it takes after the meeting to do that. But my goal is like don't ever feel like you can't speak to me because I promise you that I'll do the best that I can not to see this through the funnel of ego.
I love this. Thank you for this, Corey. Thank you for sharing all of your wisdom with us
We're
tonight.
done.
It is done. It is time. So we're going
Can't
to
go like
wrap.
another 2 hours or anything.
We could totally model Stern and like just keep talking.
Just keep going.
Thank you for coming on. And my dear listener, thank you for listening and watching. Make sure you subscribe and leave your ratings and reviews. And I will talk to you next time.
Wait a second. Did you say listener, my dear listener?
I did, just like Bridgerton.
I love it.
Here we go.
Saying thank